He screamed at me from across the room, his face blotchy red with rage, the kind of rage that makes your hands itch to strike something. My father, the man who once used to rock me to sleep with the soft hum of lullabies, now stood in our dimly lit family room, shaking with fury, a crumpled bank statement in one hand and betrayal scrawled across his face. "You lied to us," he bellowed. "You let us believe he was helping. You let this happen." My mother, pale and trembling on the worn floral couch, whispered my name like a prayer. And Peter, my younger brother, sat stiffly on the edge of the ottoman, eyes darting between us like a mouse trapped between cats. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just stood there with my arms crossed and a calm that I had fought 3 long years to earn. "No," I said, voice even. "He let you believe it." I just stopped pretending. 3 days earlier, I had been disowned by a text message. Just a single, sharp message from my father. "Don't reach out or visit. We're done." No explanation, no chance to defend myself. Just exile. I stood in my apartment in Portland, Oregon, still wearing the scrubs from my job managing the front desk at a dental clinic, staring at those words glowing cold on my phone screen. I should have been devastated. But instead, I felt something closer to relief. Like my soul had been unshackled, like I was stepping out of a life that never quite fit me. I wasn't crying. I wasn't panicking. My hands were shaking, yes, but it wasn't grief. It was something else. Something new. Freedom. You see, my name is Zoe. I'm 27 years old, and until that Tuesday night, I was the invisible daughter, the dutiful one, the fixer, the backbone they all leaned on but never truly saw. For 3 years, I had been secretly paying the mortgage on my parents' house, $1, $500 every month without fail. They thought Peter was their savior. He let them believe it. He basked in it. And when the lie started to crack, he pushed the blame on me. That night, after the text, I stood by my window, heart pounding but not with sadness, with clarity. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic payments. Just like that, 3 years of silent sacrifice ended with a single tap. I stood there for a while, looking at my own reflection in the glass, a woman caught in the act of reclaiming her story. The storm began the next morning. 17 missed calls. 42 text messages. My parents. Peter. Even Brandon, Peter's overpolished, PR-perfect fiancé, all of them panicking. "Zoe, the mortgage payment didn't go through. Peter is confused. You need to call us." I didn't. Not right away. I drank my coffee, took a long, hot shower, painted on my eyeliner like armor. I was calm in a way that scared even me. When I finally called back, my mother answered with the raw edge of desperation in her voice. "Peter said he doesn't have any payments set up," she blurted. "He doesn't know what's going on. Do you?" I sipped my coffee. "Why would I? You told me not to reach out." Silence. Thick. Uneasy. I could hear my father in the background, shouting unintelligibly. My mother's voice broke. "That was your father talking." He was upset. "Peter told us you were saying terrible things about Brandon. We had to protect him." "Right," I said, voice like glass. "Well, I hope you figure it out." I hung up. That day, I went to work as if nothing had happened. Checked in patients. Processed payments. Smiled at coworkers. Inside, I was watching a world fall apart from a safe distance. And I liked it. Peter's texts were the most frantic. "Zoe, what are you doing?" They think it was me, but it wasn't. "Fix this." Are you seriously going to let them think I lied? Yes. Yes, I was. That evening, I sat on my couch, glass of wine in hand, and reread every message. It was like watching a suspense thriller, except I was the twist no one saw coming. My phone buzzed again. "Peter, Mom and Dad think I betrayed them. They're talking about foreclosure. Are you happy?" I didn't answer. "Not yet." I texted him finally. "You've been paying the mortgage, right?" His answer came quickly. "Yes, obviously. Why are you asking?" I smiled. Cold. Sharp. Just checking. The next morning, I woke up with an eerie kind of focus, the kind that clicks into place when you know you're about to witness something collapse, not because you caused it, But because gravity was inevitable and you just happened to step aside in time to avoid the rubble, I moved through my apartment slowly, deliberately, like I was memorizing each moment. The sound of the kettle heating water, the way the sunlight streaked through the blinds and painted golden stripes across the hardwood floor, the soft hum of the city waking up outside my window, because even though it was just another Wednesday, it felt like the kind of day you remember forever, the kind that changes something fundamental in the air in you. I checked my phone, half expecting it to be silent, but no, the chaos was still alive, still unfolding like a wildfire someone had tried to smother with gasoline. 36 unread messages. 8 missed calls. The cast remained the same: Mom, Dad, Peter, Brandon. They were cycling through stages of panic, denial, bargaining, and blame, and I wasn't answering any of them. I didn't feel cruel. I felt quiet. Focused. Like I had waited years for this moment, and I didn't need to explain anything to anyone anymore. Mom's latest messages were tinged with pleading. Zoe, sweetheart, please call me. We can fix this together. Your father is talking about selling the house. It doesn't have to be this way. Peter says he's trying to figure out what happened. Maybe there's been a mistake. Just talk to me. Please. A mistake. That word made me snort. They were still clinging to the hope that this was all some misunderstanding, that the person who had been holding them up for 3 years was still out there, quietly fixing their problems like I always had. They were desperate for the illusion to hold, for Peter to still be the golden sun, and for me to still be the invisible shadow that absorbed all their burdens without a word. Then Brandon texted again. Hey Zoe. I hope you're okay. Peter's not sleeping. He's a mess. I don't know what's going on, but I don't think it's fair to let things spiral like this. Maybe if you could just talk to your parents, we could figure this out together. I'm not taking sides. I just want peace. Peace. That word used to mean surrender to me. Peace meant swallowing the truth and letting Peter shine. Peace meant silence. Not anymore. I left the message unread and went about my day. At the clinic, I was mechanical but polite. My coworkers noticed I was quieter than usual, but no one pried. I answered phones, filed insurance claims, greeted patients with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Beneath the surface, I could feel a strange kind of thrill building, not joy, not exactly, but a calm surge of power. I wasn't waiting to be rescued. I wasn't trying to rescue anyone. I was watching a system collapse. At lunch, I sat in my car, the heater running, a sandwich in my lap untouched. I was scrolling back through my banking history, the long list of transactions that told the real story, every $1,500 deposit like a breadcrumb leading back to the truth. It was all there. Undeniable. I wasn't imagining my sacrifice. I wasn't dramatizing anything. I had been the safety net beneath their lives for 3 years while Peter took credit for my rope and pretended he had tied it himself. I looked at the dates. The first payment. The day I made the decision. My mom had called me crying, her voice cracking as she explained that they were 3 weeks away from losing the house. My dad's pension wasn't stretching far enough. Mom's hours at the store had been cut. There was no savings. No backup plan. Just desperation. And I had said yes. Quietly. Without needing them to beg. Without asking for thanks. Then Peter came home. He breezed in from California with his shiny hair and his vague marketing job, and within a week he had claimed the narrative. They believed it without question. My mom called to gush about how proud she was, how generous he was. She said he had been sending them money every month. She said he was so humble, he hadn't even told them until they thanked him. I remember sitting on my couch, the phone pressed to my ear, stunned into silence. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Because screaming wouldn't have changed anything. Because deep down, I knew they wouldn't have believed me. Because a part of me still wanted to be the good daughter. The quiet one. The one who didn't make waves. Until now. My phone buzzed again. Peter. Zoe. Please. Talk to me. If they find out I didn't send the money, they'll hate me. You know how they are. You know what this will do to them. That was the closest thing to an admission he had ever given me. I stared at the message for a long time, my fingers hovering over the screen. Then I locked my phone and set it aside. I drove home after work through a drizzling rain that made the city feel softer, muted. My apartment was warm and quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the soft tap of water on the windows. I poured myself a glass of wine, curled up on the couch, and scrolled through photos on my phone, memories of years of family gatherings where Peter stood front and center while I stood just outside the frame. I was never meant to be the star. I was the understudy who learned every line, waited in the wings, and never took the stage. But not anymore. The stage was mine now. I just had to decide how I wanted to perform. I opened our old family group chat, the one that had gone silent since they told me to leave them alone, and typed 2 words. Just checking. Then I hit send and waited. The day Peter arrived in Portland was soaked in the kind of gray drizzle that makes the whole city feel like it's holding its breath, like even the clouds are waiting for something to break. I knew the minute I read his last message that he was coming. There had been a shift in his tone from pleading to panic, and then to something colder, something determined. We need to fix this. I'm coming up tonight. We need to talk face to face. There was something eerie about the way he phrased it, as if this wasn't about the truth anymore, as if we were now co-conspirators in a crime that only one of us had committed. The audacity almost made me laugh. He had spent 3 years taking credit for my sacrifice, and now, when it was unraveling, he wanted to loop me into his downfall and pretend we were a team. That night, I cleaned the apartment like I was preparing for war. Not because I wanted to impress him, but because I needed control. I needed every pillow straightened, every dish put away, every light dimmed just enough to cast long shadows and short tempers. I made tea, not wine. I wanted to be clear-headed when the lies started to splinter. At exactly 6:03 p.m., there was a knock at the door. I didn't answer right away. I let it echo once. Then again. Finally, I walked to the door slowly, each step deliberate, the floor creaking beneath my feet like a drum roll. I opened it. Peter stood there, soaked from the rain, hoodie clinging to his frame, dark hair plastered to his forehead. He looked nothing like the curated version of himself that he posted online. He looked small, tired, cornered. "Hey," he said. His voice was rough. "Hey," I replied, stepping aside. He walked in without asking, dripping water onto the entryway rug, and flopped down on the couch like he owned the space. He glanced around, his eyes scanning the apartment like he was trying to get a read on me through the books I kept on the shelves, the mug on the table, the framed photo of me, and a college friend smiling by a mountain lake. "Nice place," he said. "Cut to it," I replied, arms crossed. I didn't sit. He sighed, rubbing his hands together like he was preparing for a job interview. "Okay, look. I don't know what's going on exactly, but Mom and Dad are freaking out. They think something's wrong with the mortgage payments. They think you might know something." "Do I?" He blinked. "Do you?" I tilted my head. "Should I?" His jaw tightened. "Zoe, this isn't a game." "Agreed. But you've been playing one for 3 years, haven't you?" That stopped him. He stared at me, searching for something, maybe shame, maybe leverage. He found neither. "I thought you didn't care," he said finally. "No," I said. "You hoped I didn't care? There's a difference." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I wanted peace. Because I told myself it didn't matter as long as they were okay. But it did matter. Every time Mom called to brag about how selfless you were. Every time Dad said he was proud of how you stepped up. It mattered. You let them believe it. You basked in it. You posted about it." He looked away. "I didn't mean for it to go so far. You didn't stop it either." "I didn't know you were paying," he whispered. I barked a laugh. "Don't insult us both. I have the bank records. You saw the transfers. You matched the narrative to the numbers and claimed it as your own. I thought maybe you were doing it for them through me. Like on my behalf. I don't know. Stop. Just stop. You've had 3 years to come clean. You didn't because you liked it. You liked being the savior. The favorite. And now that it's gone, you want me to help you fix it." He stood suddenly, pacing. "They're going to hate me. Maybe. Maybe they should." "Zoe, please," he said, desperation flaring in his voice now. "You don't understand. If they find out I lied about this, everything changes. Everything already changed, Peter. The second you told them I was jealous of your engagement. The second they cut me out without asking for my side. That was your choice. This is just the fallout. He stopped pacing. His eyes were red now. So what? You're just going to let them think I'm a fraud? You're going to let them lose the house? I stared at him, the silence between us thick with all the things I'd never said. I'm not letting them do anything. I just stopped saving them. There's a difference. He shook his head. You've changed. No, I said. I just stopped pretending to be someone you could step on and still expect help from. He sat back down, head in his hands. The air was still. Heavy. So what now? He asked. Now, I said, walking to my desk and pulling open the drawer, you get to tell them the truth. Or I will. I placed a printed bank statement on the coffee table. It was thick. Highlighted. Annotated. A slow, methodical record of everything he pretended to do and everything I actually did. He stared at it. He didn't move. And for the first time, I saw it. The fear. The next morning, I expected a storm. I expected yelling. I expected my parents to call me with rage burning through the speaker, demanding explanations, throwing accusations like spears. But the silence that followed Peter's visit was louder than any fury could have been. It was tactical. It was calculating. And it told me one thing. He hadn't told them. He left my apartment with a thick envelope of bank statements tucked under his arm, looking like a man heading to trial, and I had watched him go with the eerie stillness of someone who had already made peace with the outcome. I didn't follow up. I didn't text. I didn't push. I gave him the chance he clearly didn't deserve. And he did what he always did. He froze. He stalled. He hoped that if he stayed quiet long enough, someone else would clean up the mess. Only this time, I wasn't playing janitor. On Friday morning, 3 days after Peter and I had spoken face-to-face, my phone rang as I sat behind the front desk at the clinic. My mom's name lit up the screen, and my stomach didn't twist like it used to. I didn't hesitate. I didn't brace. I answered. Zoe. Her voice was strained, brittle, like she'd been crying for hours and was now scraping the bottom of her emotional reserves. We need to talk. Can you come by the house this weekend? There was a pause. I thought Dad said I wasn't supposed to visit. Her breath hitched. He didn't mean it. We were upset. We said things, but this has gone too far. We need to sort this out as a family. I stared out the window. A patient was standing at the counter, waiting politely for a clipboard. I handed it to her, smiled, and said, "Tomorrow at noon?" "Yes," my mother said quickly. "I'll make lunch." "Okay." I hung up. I didn't spend the rest of the day spiraling. I didn't pace around my apartment or cry or rehearse speeches in my head. Instead, I went to the gym, lifted heavier than I had in weeks, then treated myself to takeout and a movie I'd already seen 3 times. Because I wasn't walking into that house to be vindicated. I wasn't going to make anyone understand. I was going because I had already won. What remained now was cleanup. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe it was the season, the way the trees had shed their leaves, or maybe it was just that I had grown in ways I couldn't measure. My mother opened the door before I even knocked. Her eyes were red. Her smile was tight. She pulled me into a hug, and I let her. But I didn't hug back. Inside, the tension was immediate. My father sat in his recliner, arms crossed. Peter was on the couch, posture stiff, gaze glued to the floor. "No, Brandon." "Zoe," my father said. He didn't stand. "Sit down." I sat in the armchair opposite him, crossing my legs slowly. "We understand there's been a misunderstanding," he began, and I almost laughed at the word. "Peter says there's some confusion about the mortgage." "No confusion," I said calmly. "I paid it, not him." The words dropped like stones into the silence. My mom looked at Peter, who still wouldn't lift his head. "Peter?" He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally whispered, "She's right." And just like that, the lie was dead. The room cracked. My mom sat down slowly, her face draining of color. My father stared at Peter like he'd never seen him before. "You let us believe." I didn't know how to stop it, Peter said quickly. It just kept going. And then it was too late. No, I said sharply. It wasn't too late. You chose not to tell the truth because you liked how it felt. You liked being the hero. You let them thank you, praise you. You let me be the villain. I didn't want that, he snapped. But you accepted it, I said. Every single time they compared us. Every time they pushed me away and clung to you. You knew the truth and you let me take the fall. My father's face had gone purple. We were on the edge of foreclosure. You watched us beg you for help. And I did help you, I snapped. For 3 years. While you thought it was him. While you ignored me. While you accused me of trying to ruin his engagement. I kept paying. Until the moment you told me not to come back. He looked like he'd been struck. I only said that because Peter lied, I finished. Because your perfect son couldn't bear to lose face. The silence that followed was darker than any scream. My mother looked between us like she was trying to piece her family back together with trembling hands and no glue. I don't even know what to say, she whispered. There's nothing left to say, I replied. This is what it is. Peter stood. I'll leave. I don't want to make this worse. You already did, I said. He walked out. Just like that. No apology. No confrontation. Just cowardice. The same way he handled everything. The same way he handled me. My parents didn't chase him. They just sat there. We lost the house, my father said, voice hollow. We're selling it next month. I know. My mother touched my hand. Do you think you'll ever forgive us? I looked at her. Really looked at her. And said, I don't know. Maybe. But not today. I stood up, adjusted my coat, and walked to the door. Zoe, my dad said, just as I reached for the handle. I turned. Thank you. For the first time, it sounded real. I nodded. You're welcome. The day I walked out of my parents' house for the last time, the sky was clear. Not just weather clear, but soul clear, like someone had scrubbed the air with something sharp and cold, leaving behind nothing but possibility. I drove through the neighborhood slowly, watching the houses roll by, knowing each one held its own dramas, its own tangled histories. But mine was behind me now. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. There were no emotional earthquakes, just the quiet hum of a woman who had cut the last thread tying her to a family that had never really seen her. I got home, dropped my keys on the counter, and curled up on the couch with a blanket and my cat, Luna, who purred as if sensing that something had shifted, something important and irreversible. Over the next few days, I waited. Not for apologies. Not for redemption. But for the silence to either grow or end. And it did grow, like ivy through the cracks of a burned house. No one called. No one texted. It was like the whole chapter had closed with a slow, reluctant thud. But then, a week later, an email arrived. It was from my dad. Zoe, I don't expect a reply, and I understand why you might not want to hear from us. But I wanted to say thank you again. For everything. You didn't have to help us. And yet you did. Quietly. Without praise. And we let someone else take the credit. We let you become the villain. We sold the house. We're moving into a smaller place next week. Your mother picked a little rental near the edge of town. It's not much, but we'll make it work. She's gone back to full-time at the store. I've started tutoring math again. Peter hasn't been around. I don't know where his head is at. He's not talking to us much. But I think he knows he broke something that can't be easily fixed. I just wanted you to know that we're trying to do better. It might be too late, but we're trying. Love, Dad. I read it once. Then again. And then I closed the laptop and let it be. I didn't need to write back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some things didn't require closure. Some wounds just needed air and distance. Instead, I kept going. I poured myself into work, then into planning something bigger, a move. A new start. Not out of spite, not as a dramatic escape, but as a quiet declaration that I could begin again, wherever I wanted, however I wanted. Seattle had always called to me bigger city, a little colder, a little wilder. It felt right. Within a month, I had packed up my Portland apartment, signed a lease on a studio with tall windows and a view of the Sound, and left without fanfare. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't update my address for them. If they wanted to find me, they'd have to earn the right to know where I was. Seattle was a breath I didn't know I had been holding. I got a job at a new clinic with better pay, a manager who didn't micromanage, and coworkers who asked questions without digging too deep. I explored. I joined a book club. I started therapy. And slowly, I remembered what it felt like to be just Zoe. Not the background character. Not the bank account. Not the forgotten daughter. Just Zoe. 3 months passed. Then 6. Then, one afternoon at a downtown coffee shop, as I sat reading with Luna's picture as my phone background and the city humming around me, I heard a voice. Zoe? I looked up. It was Brandon. He looked different. Less polished. Tired. But there was something softer about him too. He gestured to the empty chair at my table. Do you mind? I hesitated, then nodded. He sat. I moved here, he said after a moment. After everything with Peter. I needed a fresh start. I nodded. Same. He looked down at the table. He told me everything. After your parents confronted him. He told me you paid the mortgage. That he took credit. That you let him. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have seen it. I should have said something. You didn't know, I said. I suspected. But I didn't want to rock the boat. That, more than anything, was the story of my life. We talked for a while. He asked how I was doing. I told him the truth. He told me he was dating again, casually. Working for a non-profit. Sleeping better now. We didn't exchange numbers. We didn't make promises. We just understood each other. And then we said goodbye. That night, I sat on my couch, Luna in my lap, the city glowing outside my window, and I thought about everything that had happened. All the lies. All the silence. All the moments when I could have broken but didn't. I thought about Peter. About how much power I had given him, and how I had taken it back without ever raising my voice. And then I wrote an email. Not long. Not emotional. Just honest. Dad, I got your letter. I'm glad you and Mom are figuring things out. I'm glad you're trying. That matters. I'm not ready to come back. But I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Zoe. I hit send. And then I closed the laptop. I didn't check for a reply. I didn't need one. Because I wasn't writing that chapter anymore. I was writing something new. Something mine.